Michael Gutenplan is an award-winning mentalist known for his extraordinary blend of psychic entertainment, magic, and comedy, captivating audiences worldwide and earning accolades from esteemed publications and industry organisations. And Michael is with us here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I think you might already know that, if you're good enough.
Psychically know that you're doing great also.
Yes. Now, for those that don't know, can you explain what mentalism actually is in your own words?
Absolutely. So for anybody listening in the UK, the easiest way to describe it is it's what Darren Brown does.
Yes.
But going back before Darren, there was David Berglas, there was Alcoran. There's been a long history of mentalism in the UK and Scotland. What it is it's the magic of the mind. So in the simplest form, a magician does something, and you and I agree that the magician, no matter how real it looks, it's a trick, right? And we may not know how it's done. There may be no explanation, but it is a trick. Somehow it's being done. And that's where the conversation ends. A mentalist leaves you with a little bit of wonder. Maybe it is a little real, and it's the magic of the mind. It's not how did you do that? It's how did he or she know that? So whether it's a prediction or mind reading, I call it more sophisticated magic. But it really, I think the main difference, because magicians do mind reading, magicians make predictions. The real difference is the mentalist makes you question, is there a little bit of truth to the artifice, the lie that is being presented as a show?
And is mentalism a practice that can be taught, like being a magician, or is it something that you're born with?
I think mentalism as an art form is taught. It's a form of magic. It's a kind of an offshoot. So you can buy books. You can go online. You can go on Amazon or to your local library and learn what I would describe as mind reading tricks. Then that's your magic. I would call that mental magic. Mentalism is you kind of learn a little bit more. You do the body language. You learn about truth and lies and how to manipulate the mind to get what you want. Then you get into mentalism. The last part of that, psychic entertainer, which is what I would call myself, is where you try to make it as real as possible. You don't want to do the trick. You want to do it for real. And you want the audience to not question whether it's real, but experience that it's real. So I think that there are different levels, and the answer to everything is yes. You can learn it, but there are people who are born with more observational skills than others. It's a muscle. The more you use it, the better you get at it.
So how does it work? Because if it's not mind reading as you would imagine it for real, what kind of things do you look out for and pick up on to read somebody's mind?
That's a great question. I would clarify it. I would say it actually is real mind reading. It's just not what we think it's going to be. We have this image of a mind reader. I'm looking at you. I put my hands on my temple like I have a headache, and I know what you're thinking. And that happens sometimes. We're on the same brain wavelength, and we think of the same thing. You've done this with your friends, where you've gone, oh my gosh, we're both. You know what I'm thinking, right? Yeah, that's mind reading. There's no other way to explain that. In a theatrical sense, we are using all different aspects to make it work, because at the end of the day, nobody is paid to be in that theater to see me get it wrong. And it does go wrong sometimes. Sometimes you make a mistake, or you got the wrong volunteer. But for the most part, you want to see the mind reader, the magician or the mentalist get it right.
Yes.
So what we use psychology. How does the mind think? And I always say it's so amazing. Humans are more alike than we are different, and we can weaponize. We can take how we know people are going to think and use that in essence against them to make it look like mind reading. And again, I do believe, because you're using a real thing, it is real psychic work. You just have an explanation for it. It's not, it came to me out of nowhere. It's, well, your eyeball went to the upper left, which means you were thinking of this. And then it changed direction when I said this word, which means that you did this. There are real explanations to it. But I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is we are more alike than we are different. And if I know how you are going to think, I can make accurate predictions of how you will act. There's the second part to that, which is what makes it a great show. We don't think we are more alike than we are different. We think we are so special. You live in Scotland, I live in Los Angeles. How could we possibly think of the same thing? But we're humans. We have a common conscience. And that's the greatest secret. That's the secret to how it all works, is that we are more alike than we are different, and nobody wants to acknowledge it. Yeah. So I can create these amazing moments of magic and mentalism and psychic work, it's a phenomenal thing.
And you mentioned that sometimes you do get things wrong if you get the wrong volunteer or whatever. When that happens, how do you pick yourself back up again and get on with the show without it being so embarrassing?
If I get it right all the time, every time, there's very little stakes, right? Who's going to get it right? Okay, what's the point of the show? So there does need to be a struggle. There does need to be work involved. And sometimes getting something wrong, if it's not pivotal to the show, you don't want to get your finale wrong. But something early on, you can make a mistake here and there, and it does add to the tension. It reminds the audience that it's real. I think there are a couple of things that I use personally. First is confidence. I know that I'm presenting a show. I know that I am. Mistake was made in earnest, and knowing that it adds to the theater, knowing that it adds to the stakes, and gets people more invested. Ooh, if he got that wrong, what else will he get wrong? Knowing that, I don't really get embarrassed. I have had times in my shows where, the main moment goes wrong and you kind of go, oh boy, you're standing on stage going, how am I going to get past this? And you look at the audience and you're honest with them. You go, look, we're not doing magic tricks up here. We're doing real psychic work. Nothing's guaranteed. We're going to move on. What I'll usually do is double, I'll use that to build up the, that wrong. Oh boy, I better get this next thing right. The audience is forgiving if you're honest with them. If you get it wrong and you try to turn it into a win, in the psychic world, when you're doing palm readings or tower readings or psychic predictions, you're advised to turn the misses into hits. So I'm reading your palm and I say, okay, when you were 15, it looks like you suffered some sort of injury. I don't know. And you sit there and you go, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I go, okay, well, that's a miss, right? So then I start figuring out, how do I turn this into a hit? Well, did someone around you get hurt? And you go, well, my best friend broke their arm. That's what it was. And now you go, wow. So when you're doing it one-on-one, you can get away with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When you're on stage, the audience knows that you're manipulating them and they will turn on you. So the best thing you can do is be honest. Hey, I missed it. Let's try something else. This is all an experiment. And that's part of you asked earlier if you were born with it. I think everybody can do this. I don't think everybody can do the show. Being able to perform and entertain, doing something as in essence boring as reading someone's mind. It's a fascinating subject, but the art of it is me looking at you going pineapple and you going, wow, how'd you know that? So the performance aspect is what you're born with, but the skill set anybody can learn.
And for those who maybe want to develop that skill set, do you have any simple mind reading techniques that you can do that people can try at home?
Absolutely. It's really simple. I believe that everybody is psychic. It's a term. It's a word that has a lot of people get angry when they hear the term psychic, because what they're thinking of is speaking to the dead. They're thinking of someone making predictions in a crystal ball. I think psychic is just another term for intuition and instinct, and it's something we all have. And from an early age, we are taught, do not listen to your instinct, do not listen to your intuition. Quiet down that little voice in your head, listen to your parents, listen to your boss, listen to your politician. That's what we're taught, and not trust ourselves. If you want to be a psychic, if you want to learn how to read minds, the easiest way to do it is to start listening to yourself. It is a muscle, your intuition, your instinct, your emotions are muscles. And the more you use them, the better and stronger they will become. So the way to become psychic, the way to make predictions that are right, is to start listening to that voice in your head. And it is not easy. I was mailing something the other day. I've been doing this for 25 years. I was mailing something the other day, and that voice inside of me said, this is going to get lost in the mail. I knew it. I instinctually, psychically knew this package was going to get lost. And I pushed that feeling down. I said, I put it in the mailbox. It got lost. And as soon as I got that notice that it would never arrive, I said, you know what? I should have listened to myself. So even psychics, even people who have been doing it for a long time, it's a muscle and you still got to work on it. It's the never ending journey of trusting yourself. It is the hardest thing to do in life. But that is the one thing you can do at home. And start with little things. Start with a deck of cards and listen to that voice in your head and turn over a random card. See if you can get it. See if you can get one out of 52 is not a miracle. It is bad odds, but they're not impossible. And start doing it until you get that gut feeling of this is going to be a 4 of clubs, and you turn it over and you go, okay, let's see if I can get 2.
That's quite impressive because it sort of defies all logic, doesn't it? But I guess it works.
It's worth the effort. because it's one thing if you're doing a show, it's another thing if you're doing it in life. And we have all had moments, you could be 4 years old or 400 years old. You walked into a room and you felt that something is off. You said, I'm getting the heck out of here. You have thought of a friend and they've texted you or called you right then. And you go, oh my gosh, how did you know I was just thinking of you? If you're a gambler, you've walked into a casino, put money in a slot machine, pulled it and won. And you go, you know what? I don't know why I did that, but something told me to. Those are the droplets of your own powers. And it's scary. It's hard for people who are skeptical to believe that there's no rhyme or reason. It's just, I call it the universe. The universe dangles these little moments of prospect before you. And it's your job to say, ooh, that's the universe offering a sign. I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to open up that door and see where it leads me. So it is a little weird. It's illogical. It's something that we are taught to ignore growing up. And unfortunately, we have to relearn to listen to those signs all around us.
And another aspect that's often used in mentalism is the power of suggestion. So are you able to demonstrate a simple example of suggestion that we can all try?
Yes, let's do that. I have a deck of cards right here, and I'm going to hold up. Now, are people able to see this, or they're just hearing this?
Most people will just be hearing this, but I'll put the video up as well after.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have you, I have a deck of cards, and I'm going to hold up, I'm going to take out one card. Okay, you have to trust me that I'm not switching it, putting the rest of the cards down, but I want you to think of a card, okay? I want you to just think of any card, not the ace of spades. We have an ace, a jack, a queen, a king, hearts, diamonds, spades, clubs, 2 through 10. What card are you thinking of right now?
I'm thinking of the Queen of Hearts.
The Queen of Hearts. Yeah. Now, is that a uncommon card? No, it's a very common card, right? And remember what I said. I said, I don't want you to think of the ace of spades. So I took out basically 4 cards. And I snapped my finger. I said, I want you to go quickly. I have had this card in my hand. I put it down for one moment, but standing away from my computer, I picked it back up. And the card I had was the Queen of, let's see if we can get that there. The Queen, there's the zoom for you. The Queen of Hearts. And the way that works is if you go back and watch this video or listen to it, I say, I want you to think of a card, right? And I snap my finger. That forces you to go with something easy. Yeah. Tends to be hearts. I said, I don't want you to think of the ace of spades. That forced you to cut out all the aces right away. So now I've limited it down. And what I said is ace, jack, queen, king, hearts, diamonds, spades, clubs, 2 through 10. Think of any card. I pushed that queen a little bit harder. Now, I may have been wrong and I would have done something else. I would have fixed it. But, I'm going to say 70% of your listeners probably also thought of the Queen of Hearts. Manipulation is a dirty word, right? It's a dirty word. You don't want to manipulate people. But what is manipulation? Manipulation is having someone do something for you, thinking they are doing it for themselves. That is all that magic and mentalism is. I'm going to have you do something thinking that you are doing it on your own. In my head, how could he have known Queen of Hearts? But you're going to go with your gut. I'm going to use that knowledge that we are more alike than we are different. And then you're going to pick it. Now, a magician will say, well, you verbally forced it. You made them do that. And I said, no, I didn't make you do anything. You could have said 7 of clubs, but it was so easy because you weren't challenging me. I think that's the other aspect of mentalism. In magic, there is that inherent challenge. I'm going to get the magician, right? In mentalism, it's you're experiencing it at the same time I am, and me getting it right makes you look great. So we're in it together. Because if I would have said, oh, I thought you were going to say 4 of clubs, you go, well, that kind of stuck. But because it worked, you unlocked your psychic potential. You knew what I was thinking. There's that weird connection that makes it amazing.
For that example, you kind of have options as to what the answer is going to be because it's going to be in the deck of cards. But when sometimes you see, if you want somebody to think of a word or draw a picture, how is that done?
I mean, obviously, I can't give you all the answers. Nice try there. Nice try. With pictures, I think I can explain it better than words. So with words, I am somehow, if it's a stage production, limiting your options without you knowing that I'm limiting your options. It may be what I'm saying. It may maybe what I'm presenting. Again, I believe it is real because even with a limited option, I'm still reading your mind. I'm still knowing what you were thinking. So you have a skeptic who goes, oh, the person did this. That's how he got you to think of potato. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, but you could have thought of the 400 other options that were presented to you. So there is truth, even though it's limited. Numbers are a little bit different. If you think about it, at the end of the day, there's only zero. You have 0 through 9. That's 10 options in different orders. So no matter how big the number is, you only always have 10 options one at a time. Drawings are actually a little bit different because the more I know about you, the more I can infer. So last night's show, the way I do a drawing duplication is I ask questions. I do it as a cold reading. A cold reading means I know nothing about you, but I can tell so much about you based on what you're wearing, what's around you. I mean, I can tell a tremendous amount about you just in the room you're in, right? So what I do in my show is I turn a cold reading into a hot reading. Hot reading means I know a little bit of information. So what I'll say is I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and based on the answer, I'm going to figure out the kind of things you would draw. I asked, where were you born? This woman said Chicago. I said, what did you want to be when you were a child? She said, architect. I said, if you could be anywhere in the world, where would you want to be? She said, back in Chicago, looking at the tall buildings. I said, boom, you drew, because she had drawn a picture. I said, you drew a building in Chicago. I think it's going to be like the big one with the two. And I was 100% right. That is exactly, our drawings matched perfectly. And it wasn't me closing my eyes going, psychic powers. It was deductive reasoning. She likes Chicago. She's interested in architecture. That's where she wants to be. That's what she's going to draw. If she was a golfer, she would have drawn a golf course. If she loves the summer, she would have drawn a boat on a lake. People are more alike than we are different. And we do the same things over and over, pattern.
And you've performed for a wide variety of audiences like celebrities, politicians, and the general public. So how do you adapt your performances to suit such diverse groups?
Great question. I will also add to that, I was the magician at Hamley's for 1 year.
Oh, wow.
In London.
Oh.
I sold, for Marvin's Magic, I sold a magic trick, the top of the escalator. I loved it. That's a great question. I design shows for the hardest to please people. So I look at an audience and I go, who is dragged here by their husband or wives? Who's dragged here by their parents? Who would rather be anywhere else? And what can I do to amaze that person? Because everybody else is an easy win besides that one person who really doesn't want to be here. So when I design a show and I look at effects and experiments and tricks, what is going to be the most amazing moment for them? And then I put it together like a play. I say there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's a 5-act structure. Everything has to move in terms of impossibility. You want to start with the real and then slowly work your way to the, that is amazing. I don't know how you did that. That's unreal. But I don't think there's a difference between a 7-year-old's birthday and performing for the Sultan of Brunei. I think it is the same show. Your jokes may be a little bit different. Your routines may be a little bit slower or faster. But at the end of the day, the secret is to entertain the person that doesn't want to be there, and everybody else will have a great time.
And you've got an upcoming performance at the Magic Castle. What can we expect from that show? Is it the same show?
No, that one will not be the same show. So I'm investing in my own business. I realize that my market happens to be very rich people. I do, as you just said, politicians, celebrities. And I realized I could not see my own show. I couldn't afford me. And I want to change that. I want to start doing theaters. I want to start doing cruise ships. I want to get out there and let the world see what only the rich and famous have been able to see, which is my show. So I'm renting a theater. I'm renting the greatest magic venue in the world, the Magic Castle in Hollywood, California. And for one day, I am filming my show. It's not my normal show. It's going to be an extended version. I'm doing everything, putting it on camera. But I'm inviting the audience because I realized I have all these friends, all these fans and people in California who have never had a chance to see me perform because they couldn't get into these gilded halls. They couldn't get past the guards at the door, literally the guards at the door. So this is my chance to not only enhance my own business, but to say thank you to all of my supporters and fans out there and give them a chance to see it. So it is on November 8th. Unfortunately, a lot of your listeners in the UK can't get to see it, but the goal is to take that one performance for the public and then expand it out to the rest of the the world and say, hey, book this show. It is for everybody. It's not just for the 1% of the 1% anymore. It's for everyone.
Well, other than this show, what other things are you working on? Do you have other performances or projects coming up?
I'm very busy. I do a lot of corporate events, country club shows. So I'm always performing, which, this is my living, as I say. So every week I have shows. I also travel a tremendous amount, not just for shows, but for fun. I just came back from Japan. I'm going off to Paris over New Year's. So I'm constantly, if I'm not home working on new shows, I'm traveling the world. Right now I'm working on new material. It's time to always add in new stuff. And I'm trying to find out what else is out there in the psychic world that would be interesting. I'm a consultant for film and television. So I always have projects that call me up. And actually today, while we're recording this interview, is the release date for one of the shows I just worked on, Neon, on Netflix. In the last episode, there's an illusion they needed to have made. And so I worked with the actors to create this illusion. And what you see on camera is actually how it looks in real life, which was a really cool thing. And then really what it is, I do a lot of palm readings. I do a lot of crystal readings, and I don't do psychic readings one-on-one, but I'll do parties, and it's Halloween season right now. So that's a busy time. But really, my passion is unlocking people's psychic potential and letting them know that what I'm doing on stage, even though it's a manicured, manufactured version of it, they can do this with themselves. And all you need to do is trust yourself. So my biggest thing in life, and the thing that I'm always working on, is giving people more power for themselves.
Well, where are we able to keep up to date with you and get tickets for your show at the Magic Castle if they're still available?
They are. So it's free. The Magic Castle show is free to the public. It's one show only. It's a daytime show on November 8th. All you have to do is send me an email. And the best way to do that is go to my website. There's a contact form. It's www.mentalist.show. Mentalist.show is the website. You can also contact me through Instagram or all social media. And it's Amazing Mentalist is my social media handle. If you forget Amazing Mentalist, type in Amazing Men. I'm the first person that pops up.
Well, many thanks for joining us today. It's been smashing to have you here.
This was fabulous, and thank you. And just a reminder for everybody, start trusting yourselves. That's the way to increase your own psychic powers.